This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor with the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you have a radio you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. We are recording and we'll post it at a later time on YouTube, probably within a couple of days. This is KC9VKV.
KC9VKV, K1G,
Roger, Charlie. I just went to my local receiver, and you're doing me about a 7 over my noise level, 7 dB over my noise level. So you know, when you had your antenna working at its best there, I guess you were like a 15 over. So. We'll hope that that antenna gets a fix in when things should work out for it to be that way. So and unfortunately, like I say, I don't know why my computer has got the hiccups. Well, I'll tell you exactly why. Actually, my wife did some picture scanning, and she had to load in this picture scanning program. And unfortunately, this computer is very challenged even to turn on. And this, I guess, this program that she put in there was about a gig and a half. And this computer said, "Oh my, I don't like that at all. So I am going to be hiccuping." And so that's what's happened to the earlier part there. But I went to, like I say, I went to my receiver, and you were 7 over S9. So we'll work out all these bugs. I'll get the fly swatter, and we'll see what we can do. And hopefully I'll be able to mail you up 3 or 4 pages, maybe 5, to see how it goes there. And you know, we're hoping to get about between an 8 and a 10-minute piece. So we'll just see how it all goes. Roger, Charlie.
There's a lot of QRM that almost took you out there at one point. There are stations all around it. When you're in the air, it's like you're in the room. And 20 over 9 directly, without any SDRs. I have no computer. Yeah, once you can set something up, I do suspect that I don't think you have much on 20 meters antenna-wise. 20 meters once in a while is really terrific out there in the daytime. Really tremendous. That might work. Even if you had a dipole on 20, you're just far enough away that 20 meters would be very, very consistent. However, with all the short skips here on 40 meters, you get flashover and everything else occasionally, Jim. So the way I work it out with my schedules that I have Monday through Thursday from here on 75 meters, 37, 53, 55, 37, 60 maybe. I just pick the clearest spot, or we pick the clearest spot that we can and just land there without trying to pick on one frequency. That way we avoid a lot of QRM. But even there, the bands do get loaded. Okay, Jim, I'll turn it back to you. And your audio is absolutely superb in here, like very natural sounding, and like you're right here on 7189. This morning, conditions into Australia were great on this band. I was copying PK3MO with 25 over 9 coming out of Australia, but he has stacked rhombic on 40 meters. He does an outstanding job. I believe that on this band he's the loudest station out of VK that I have ever heard. But that's his antenna down there. Oh, it's amazing he can copy me with this antenna. It's badly damaged. 73, Jim, if you want to work other stations, it may clear up a little bit. And okay on the XYL and the computer there. Hi. KC9VKV, K1G, Z Manila.
Roger, Charlie. Well, there will be a little bump in the relationship area, because she does copy the mail on a recorded basis of my QSO. So when that comes along, she'll certainly probably have some comments to make. But anyway, it's true. It's not a lie. It really just laid that computer out sideways. Says I can't do it. And on the frequencies that you were talking about, now those are those extra frequencies for those extra good amateur radio operators. And I, of course, can't go below 3800. At least I get my fingers. What do they do in the Catholic Church? They kind of tap your fingers. I'm afraid that's what would happen to me if I went lower than 3800. So, but maybe we can coincide on some kind of a frequency that we can both be legal on. Roger, Roger?
Oh, yeah, Roger. I don't have the extra myself. I have the advanced. I have my advanced license. I cannot operate below 14150 or below 3700 on 75. I think, 3800. I can load up a little above 3800 without too much trouble. I get about 3825, then it gets rough. But I could work you there. It would work out. But as we get closer to summer, the static gets much higher on 75 meters. Of course, this time of day, the band is not open out your way at all. It just isn't. There's too much absorption levels, too much absorption on the D layer. The D layer on 75, it just limits you down to about 200 or 300 miles or so, and that's it. On some evenings, it might be good up there at least for another month and a half or so, above 3800. Yes, I could work it out with you there, Jim. Go ahead.
Roger that, Charlie. Well, anyway, I'll hopefully be sending you up by mail a few pages for you to look at and see what you think about those pages. Roger?
Roger. And you have my mailing address, right?
Roger, I believe I do.
Okay. Look, I'll let you go. There may be a lot of stations that would like to work you right now. You're pretty well right out in the clear, Jim. The thing about this time of day, especially as the sun is setting slowly later and later, the band is not quite out there from here like it would be, say, if I were in Pittsburgh or Buffalo, New York, or in Indianapolis. That's closer in. That favors you much better than way up here. Okay, Jim, a pleasure as always, and we'll try to do the best we can. And I've got to go out after this QSO and dig out my back steps. Oh, boy, I got snow off the roof there and came down with a crash. And the rain yesterday froze in everything, and it weighs a ton. Oh, that stuff is heavy. And we still are loaded with snow up here, Jim. So 73, and thank you very, very much for all your efforts at your end there. KC9VKV, K1GZL.
Roger, Charlie. Okay, well, I'm praying for sunshine for you guys. Praying for sunshine to come along and melt all of that snow, not too quickly, just gently, and so everything stays safe, but does remove the obstacles of snow and allows you to do whatever you need to do outside. So 3's that way, Charlie. Good to hear you, and like I say, we will be getting some mail up your way to take a look and see what you think. Again, 3's, and this is a KC9VKV and the afternoon QSO-VLOG program for Friday afternoon. If you have a radio you want to check out the audio, or you need advice or sympathy, or whatever it might be, give me a shout. This is KC9VKV.
KD9 IUP.
KD9 IUP. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jim. This is Jerry over here in New Albany, so we could almost shout at each other. Just wanted to check in and say hi to you, and always enjoy hearing you on the air.
Roger, Roger, Jerry. Now, you've got the 7300, right?
That's affirmative, Jim.
Roger, Roger. And you're using the hand mic?
Yeah, that's affirmative also.
Roger, Roger. Well, I am now suggesting that anyone with a 7300 with a hand mic they're going to use, go ahead and get a foam windscreen. They make short little foam windscreens that will work well with your hand mic, and that will take care of the last possible problems with that 7300 operation. Obviously the hand mic for the stock hand mic for the 7300 is just superb, it being a condenser and all, but it is subject to some plosives and mouth noise, and you can't just work it perfect every time. So a windscreen would just foam windscreen would just take care of all of those problems. Roger?
Yeah, I hear you on that, Jim. Do you think if I turned the gain down a little bit that would help?
No, you don't want to do that. No, it's I think those windscreens are like $4, at a music store or something like that. It'd be well worth it if you could do that. If not, just keep going the way you are, working it from the side of your mouth. Roger.
Yeah, trying to take your advice on that, Jimbo. Hey, good hearing you. You're coming, of course, in very loud and clear. Could you tell me where Charlie was located? I was hearing him, but a little more on the faint side.
Roger. Charlie is up there, a hop, skip, and a jump from the Canadian border. Roger.
Yeah, is he in Wisconsin then?
Gosh, I'm not real sure. Charlie, you still copying?
No, I'm in northern New Hampshire.
Thank you, Charlie. Northern New Hampshire, Jerry.
Oh, that's great. It was good to also hear him. Listen, Betty, I'm going to let you go, and we can always talk. So 73's good to hear you out there. Have a good one. God bless.
Roger, Roger, Jerry, sounding good on that 7300, buddy. Probably one of the best moves that you've made to get a radio like that, man. The only one I can think of better would be the 7610, and there's a whole lot of cash difference between those two. So 3's Jerry, we'll catch you later.
WA30.
WA30, go.
Hello, Jim. How you doing? Just got home from work. Heard you in there. I wanted to say good afternoon to Charlie. Talked to Charlie this morning, and I'm hearing him pretty well. Hope everything is well with you. Everything's well here in Pittsburgh, and just a little chilly, about 25 degrees. Back over to you, and then turn it to Charlie. I just wanted to say hello to him.
Check in.
Roger, check in, stand by. And WA30, what's the name there?
I'm sorry, Jim. Name here is Mike. Mexico, India, Kilo Echo, and the QTH is in Pittsburgh.
Roger that. Sounding really good. And I'm assuming you're on a 7300?
Yeah, 7300, and running the hand mic and trying to talk across it so I don't breath pop it. But yeah, running about 700-800 watts into a switchable Moxon that I think I got all tuned up now. Over.
Roger. Yeah, we checked that out. I didn't notice much difference. And, I reviewed the audio, and I was minus 20 pad in. So, I would have been sensitive enough. And I am running below AGC compression. So, I mean, it's just about as as basic a receiver that you can get, and it will detect slight fluctuations in RF levels, because it is uncompressed and it is at a very, very low front end level. Roger.
Roger. Well, I did some tuning, and I just switched on you, and I'm seeing lots of S units today. I tuned the harnesses on it, so this is towards you, away, and towards you. How's that, Jim?
I might have caught a little white noise difference. Can you do it one more time, please?
Okay. This is towards you, towards you, towards you. Away, 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 towards you, towards you. I'm seeing here, and of course these S meters aren't calibrated to at least 2 to 3 S units.
Roger, Roger. Unfortunately, I'm looking at your audio, and I'm seeing no audio, and I'm listening with my ears for any white noise, ups or downs, differences, and on your switch I can hear no difference. So I guess I'm right in that area where, the lobe is not in a major form where I'm copying you. Probably if I'm more into your front lobe, there would be a more of a difference, Roger.
Yeah, Roger. Well, here I'm seeing a huge difference, but that's on the S meter. So, all right, Jim. Just wanted to say hello to you and say hello to Charlie in there. I don't know. Charlie, you hear me? K1GZL, WA3L?
Oh, yeah. You're better reach. I've got a heck of a lot of snow to shovel. Old stuff that crashed down on the pest steps. But I'm thinking about 10 to 15 dB in favor of you being east, Jim. So, Mike, very good, and you sounded good this morning on 40 meters here on 7150. You really were good. You're good now. Here you are. One more time.
Yeah, okay. This is towards you, towards you, towards you. Away, 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 away. Towards you, towards you. I'm seeing here, and of course these S meters aren't calibrated to at least 2 to 3 issues.
You sound marvelous.
No, there you are. Okay, I'll sign here, and good to talk to you.
Station standby.
You're really pouring in up here, 25 over when you're centrally east. WA30 K1GZL. See you tomorrow morning.
All right, Charlie, take care, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Jim, I'll catch you also. I just wanted to get in here and say hello. I know there's other stations that are calling, so take care, and we'll talk to you maybe next week. 73.
Roger, Roger, Mike, and simply marvelous audio. Marvelous, marvelous. Just beautiful. I love those 7300s. Take it easy, Mike. We'll catch you hopefully next Friday if you get a chance to drop by. This is KC9VKV in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you have a radio you want to check the audio on, we are air checking from now until 5 continuously, and we will post it on YouTube, so you will have a chance to hear your audio and other people's audio, and you can say, hey, I like my audio, or hey, I like his audio. I want my radio station to sound more like him, and what do I have to do to make it that way? So it's an enlightening hour and a half for sure. KC9VKV standing by. Bravo Zebra, was that?
Roger, Roger. Kilo 4, India, Bravo Zebra.
Roger, Roger. What's the name?
Name is Bill. FREQ, Florida. I'm also using the 7300.
Yes, beautiful. And where are you in Florida?
Name of town is Crestview. It's northwest Florida on the Panhandle in between Destin and Pensacola, Florida.
Roger. Well, we have this mantra that says 20 over from Montreal to Miami and from New York to New Mexico. 20 over, so we're still trying to, well, I did hear myself the other day on an SDR coming out of Miami. So I know we're making it, but I don't hear anybody coming out of there. Roger, Roger?
You mean out of northwest Florida on the Panhandle?
No, out of Miami.
Oh, out of Miami, okay. Well, I don't know about that. Miami's a long ways off for us. Hey, if you don't mind, Jim, pass on that hint about that windscreen for the mobile mic on the 7300.
All right. If you go to any music store, you will be able to get a windscreen, a foam windscreen. Now these, you know, they used to make them where they were real long. They were like about 6 inches long and went over the whole microphone. And now they're making shorter ones, like about 3 inches, that will just do nicely on a hand mic. And so you just put that little windscreen on your hand mic, and it takes, you know, it takes care of all those plosives and other aspects of your voice that you don't want to transmit, you know. And we used to say, just try to work that hand mic across itself. In other words, from the side of your mouth, just talk across the microphone with the microphone right up to your mouth, but to the side of it, so you're not working directly into that mic. But for $4 or $5, you know, get yourself a foam windscreen, and it just goes over the top of that microphone, and just solves all those problems. You know, the stock hand mic for the 7300 is just a beautiful device that just shows off the 7300 so nicely. It's just excellent because it's a condenser microphone for main thing, and you know, you can work it close. EQ pattern, if you got a pad and pencil, I would suggest running about 3 on the top end on the EQ of the 7300. And then, depending on how much your voice is, you know, would be what you would need to do to the bottom end. But I would punch up just a little bit more on the top end, and the clarity of the clear water is just beautiful with that microphone, Roger.
Okay, well, I'll look into it. This radio is rather new to me. Haven't had it very long. Okay, another question for you. I've got, I guess, a copy print out of your QRZ page, and you talk about your radio history there, and that you were a production director for a major 50,000-watt AM broadcast station, and said something about having full-length music concerts, 500 shows, radio documentaries.
Stand by, Whistler.
I'd be very interested in getting those Airchecks. Is there any possible way?
Yes, sir. You will notice that there's a go-to on that QRZ page, and all you got to do is highlight it and then hit go-to, and that will take you right to my main page, which is called Jim Fergusson's Radio Story. That's my main page, and you can go directly to there from that go-to on the QRZ page. Do you see it?
No, I don't have it here. This friend of mine, Elmer W6CRL, who lives in Crestview, also printed out a copy of, I guess, not your main page, but the one that's on QRZ, and that's all I've got. But anyway, I will look that up, and I thank you for that information. I'll let you go and let you pick up others. I really appreciate those hints. KC9, let's see, VKV. Pleasure to meet you, Jim. Say 4IBZ, now click.
Roger, Bill, just one other word there. Are you familiar with your 7300? Like, can you get to your compressor?
Not that familiar.
All right, you got a pencil and paper?
Yeah, I've got it on now. Let's see. Okay. Turn it up. 1, 2, 3. It's setting 4. How's that?
Looking good. I suggest running a 3. A 3 on that compressor. Can you set it on 3?
I got it on 3 now.
All right, and then take a look at your limiter, your ALC. Do you know how to get to that, and your mic level?
Not exactly.
You faded out just a little bit to repeat.
I don't know. I work mostly CW. Jim, it's hard to say, but yeah, if you could leave me on that, I'd appreciate it.
All right, sir. Take a note. Go to your multimeter ALC position and adjust your mic level until your ALC is running mid-scale to 2/3 in the ALC zone. Roger. In other words, you've got a multimeter there or whatever, and just adjust your ALC for mid-scale to 2/3. Roger.
Okay. Well, I see it. I've got the ALC on here. Well, what knob do I turn for the ALC?
Your mic gain up. Turn your mic gain up until you're getting about half deflection to 2/3 on your ALC reading.
Okay, which button is my mic gain?
In the menu.
Oh, okay. Sorry to be so stupid.
Hey, that's an intimidating radio when you first have it, you know.
Okay. I punched the button that said audio. Let's see, let's go back. Not too sure what I've got here. Do I push the audio button there?
If you have, if that gives you your mic gain, let me just leave it with you there, and I'll just suggest that when you figure out how to adjust your mic gain, get your ALC meter up and adjust your mic gain for a half scale to 2/3 deflection. Roger?
Okay, I won't take up your time then. Yeah, I'll look over the manual. Like I say, I work mostly CW. I hardly ever get on sideband. But my good friend Elmer told me about you and said you're a pretty good guy to talk to, so I appreciate it, Jim. Thank you much for your time and trouble. K4IBZ enough there.
Roger, Bill. Well, I'll tell you what, man, you're running about 2.5 to 3 dB dynamic range, between a 2 and a 3 dB dynamic range, so I wouldn't change anything, man. I would sally forth just like it is. Don't look. Be like me, man. When my engine light comes on, I get a Band-Aid and put over it, you know. I don't sweat it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that report. I'm running a very unusual antenna, too. It's called the G3TKN, Golf 3 Tango Kilo November. I've got a drawing on it for those who are interested in this antenna on my QRZ page. And I get a lot of people poo-pooing the thing, saying, oh, that antenna can't possibly work, especially on 80 meters. With a good tuner, a manual tuner, that thing will tune up all bands, even the woke bands, and it's only the same length as a half-wave dipole for 40 meters. A half-wave dipole, 40 meters. The entire length of the antenna. It's fed with coax. Anyhow, like I said, I got so many guys poo-pooing this antenna. But it gets out. I've even worked DX on 80 meters with it. And I've had some guys comment and say, well, that can't possibly work on 80 meters. Too short. Don't say anything till you try, folks. So if anybody on here listening is interested in this antenna, you can look at it on my QRZ page. All right, Stephen 3, I appreciate you. Let me get that plug in, too. K4IBZ.
Roger, Bill. Well, you know what they say, you just can't do it until somebody does it. And then they say, oh, yeah, well, I see it now. So, anyway, Bill's QRZ page is K4IBZ. Well, yeah, go to QRZ and look up K4IBZ. And he's got that antenna that is working real well. How much power are you running right now, Bill?
Just 90 watts on this little rig, and the call is Kilo 4 India Bravo Zebra. Kilo 4 India Bravo Zebra.
Roger. And what's your location again?
Again, located in Northwest Florida on the Panhandle between Destin and Pensacola, Florida.
Roger. Well, the last time I heard somebody coming out of that area with your kind of signal, they were running about 600 watts. So that antenna is definitely working. You were giving me like about an 8 over, and so that's a good signal. And for 90 watts, that's amazing. So 3s anyway, Bill. Thanks for checking in. Maybe if you get a chance, drop by next Friday afternoon between 3:35. Love to hear you check in and see what's going on down in Florida. This is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, we are recording between now and 5 Eastern, and then we'll post the whole thing up to YouTube in the next couple of days, and you will be able to go there and check out your audio and say, hey, that's exactly what I thought I sounded like, or ooh, gosh, maybe I should fade back and check something else out there. And you have the opportunity to hear other people's audios, like Bill's, which was really nice, and Mike's, which was nice, and well, Charlie's nice. Well, so far, we have a lot of good signals for you to look at there. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor.
Papa Tango Alpha.
Tango Alpha Station, come back with a call sign.
This is Kilowatt Bravo 3 Papa Tango Alpha, and the name is Jim Juliet India Mike.
Well, that name sounds familiar. Now, let me see where I have heard that before. Oh, that's my name. That's right. How's it going there, Jim?
Pretty good, Jim. Not bad at all. A nice day here in southwest Pennsylvania.
Stand by, contact.
Nice sunshine. Temperature-wise, it's probably in the mid-30s and cool and easy. Back to you, Jim.
Roger, Roger. Now I'm getting about a 5 over on you. Pretty, a little noisy, but you're running, what, about 100 watts there?
Yeah, about 150 here, 150 watts.
Well, I tell you, Jim, if my computer, my other computer, was running right, I just heard the tail end of your last transmission. Boy, I would have me a nice little level on you from the Milford, Pennsylvania SDR. But my computer's got the stutters. My other computer's got the stutters because the wife put in a gig and a half program, and that computer, that's all it can do is to turn on, man, and maybe work an SDR, but a gig and a half less in memory, and it just forgets its name, Roger.
Okay, Jim, no problem. I just thought I'd have my radio checked out here, the audio, and see what it would be like, but no problem.
Roger, Roger. Now, okay, you're running 7300, Roger?
No, sir, I'm not. I'm running a JFP 245 transceiver.
All right, so I suggest, as a general operating procedure, to run about a 3 out of 10 on your compressor. Run the compressor at about 1/3 of its capabilities, and consult your ALC and run that at about mid-scale to 2/3 by adjusting your mic level to where your ALC is running about half to 2/3 after you engage your compressor. And then I would crank about 3 dB of top-end EQ as a general rule. About 3 dB on the top end, leave the mid-range flat, and then you have further correction capabilities down in the low end, and I can't really hear you that clean to be able to tell you what you need to do in that on that bottom end so far. Roger, maybe conditions change here in the next minute or two.
Okay, Jim. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll get that straightened out, and we'll see what happens, and you're on every Friday, so I can contact you again next Friday, and I'll get this worked out and see what happens.
Sounds good, sounds good. Yeah, give me a shout next Friday. Earlier the better. We start about 3:30 Eastern on this frequency, 7189. And so, if you get a chance to drop by, and we'll compare notes and see what we need to do further on. Roger, Roger.
Okay, that's Roger, and thank you very much for picking me up, and have a beautiful weekend.
Roger, Roger. Jim, you likewise, sir. Have a good weekend. This is KC9VKV. And this is the Friday afternoon KC9VKV QSO-VLOG. We run between 3:30 and 5, air checking or recording. And if you have a radio you want to check the audio on, give us a shout. We'll be recording it and then posting it within the next couple of days up on YouTube, where you can go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. That will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. We got about 430 QSOs now. About 430 QSOs, and when you go to YouTube and do that call letter search, KC9VKV, and when you get to the QSO-VLOG page, you'll be looking for a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck 12519. My Group Aircheck 12519, which is today's date. This is KC9VKV.
Kilo 4 Bravo Tango Alpha.
Bravo Tango Oscar, was it?
Kilo 4 Bravo Tango Alpha.
Alpha. Roger, roger, sir. What's the name there?
Yeah, the name here is Louis, Lima Uniform India Sierra. I am on a TS 940. I just put finals and see how this thing is running out there, Roger.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Your dynamic range is somewhere around 2 dB, which is a really, really fat signal. And the thing about your limiter in that radio is it's very consistent. It bangs beam at the same place on all your peaks. It's not punching through at all. It's just being held right at that same piece. And that's the mark of a great compressor.
Yeah, roger that. Like I said, this is a friend of mine's radio. I had the pleasure of rebuilding it for him, putting a new power supply in the PA board and all. So I was just making a recording for him to hear, and that way he can tell how the radio sounds on the other end, Roger.
Roger, now you're using a hand mic on that?
I'm using the MC60, the standard microphone for this radio.
Right, and is that a dynamic or condenser?
It's a dynamic, sir.
Roger, roger. Sounds clean. And you are working it from the side as opposed to directly into it?
Okay, I'm on the side of the microphone now. Does that make a difference?
Yeah, it usually does, because, you know, there's not much plosive filtering in the hand mics, you know, and so if you do usually work a hand mic directly in, you'll get all kinds of transients and mouth noises and pops and stuff like that. So it's usually a good practice to work across a hand mic, Roger.
Yeah, Roger that. I was kind of hungry. I was kind of swallowing the thing, and I just... I forget that speak slowly, clearly, and don't speak into the microphone, Roger.
Yeah, I'd be more inclined to go for lunch myself. I'll do the radio thing later on, Roger.
Yeah, Roger that. Well, thank you very much, and any input from you about the radio and how it sounds, and hopefully it's on frequency for you. Gosh, now that you ask, I would punch in 2 or 3 dB, 2 or 3 clicks on the top end EQ, particularly it being a dynamic microphone. You know, there's a wide frequency response difference between condenser mics and dynamic mics, and condenser mics are becoming more and more used in the hobby, you know, particularly with ICOM doing such a great job using that condenser mic on their 7300 and 7610, which, you know, really brings our hobby closer technically to the beautiful sounds that you're getting on VHF and UHF. It used to be, you know, HF was compared to UHF and VHF, but now with the advent of using those condenser mics, they're really closing the technical distance between HF, the sound of HF audio and VHF, UHF audio. Roger? Yeah, Roger that. I just turned on the processor. I turned it up halfway. Did that make any difference?
Yeah, I would only run that compressor at about a 3, about a third of its possibilities. You know, just a little, just barely there, but it starts to help to build your the fatness of your signal. So I would just run it at about a 3. Put it on the 3 and let's listen to it.
Yeah, Roger that. That is on 3 right there, and ran the microphone just a tad down also, Roger.
All right. Now, if you can get to EQ and crank in about 3 clicks on the top end, what kind does this have, a 3-band or a 2-band EQ?
This doesn't have an EQ, sir. It's just to have a new filter system. Came off a 930, which I put. I took out the standard S1 and put in S2, which is a 3.0 wide, and took the Maruca out 13 and put a 12, which is a 2.9. So that should open up the frequency a little bit.
All right. What I would do then is go to your ALC mode, look at your meter, ALC meter, and adjust your mic level to where the meter is running about mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Yeah, roger that. Okay, as I'm looking at it, testing 1 2, test 1 2. How's that? Put it up about 3/3.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of noise out of your microphone. I'm not sure whether it's a noisy switch in the microphone or not, but come back, grip the microphone fairly tightly, and let's see where that noise is coming from.
Well, I have the microphone in my hand, so I put it on the table and see how that sounds.
Oh, that was clean there. That was clean there. I think it's coming along, and you know, I guess that radio has got some age on it, so it doesn't have built-in EQ.
It's 35 years old, and I do the condominium repair on the 930s and 940s, so we're bringing them back to life there, Roger.
Roger. Now, it looks like your dynamic range is about 1.5 dB now, so if you're running a 3 compression, I would move that down to a 2. I would put just a little bit more dynamics in your audio. A 2 is really fat, so maybe you might want to back off 1 to a 4 or a 3 and see if we can get about a 3 dB swing in your dynamic range.
Okay, Roger that. How's that moved away from the mic just a tad at a normal voice?
Still looks, sounds hot. Drop your, well, shoot. Can you get to your mic level?
Yeah, I got it right here in front of me.
Okay, and you're looking at your ALC?
That is correct, sir. It's about halfway now.
All right, drop your compressor down to a 2.
Okay, compressor, let's see. Hold up, test. Okay, there's about 2.
All right, try 1.
Okay, going down to 1, 1, 1, 1, test, 1 right there.
Oh man, you're still doing 2 to 3 dB dynamic range, but your audio is just sounding beautiful. So I'd run it just like that, Roger.
Roger that. Thank you very much. Again, pleasure, sir. You've helped me in the past, and I thank you very much. And I hope to catch you on next Friday on the frequency. This is Kilo 4, Bravo Tango Alpha Louis in Marietta, Georgia.
Roger, Lewis. Drop. Tell you what, just for kicks, drop the compressor altogether. Let me hear you.
Okay, it's all the way down.
Can you take the compressor out of the circuit?
He's off frequency.
Standby station. Go ahead, Lewis. KC9VKV. Lewis, you still have a copy?
Okay, I took the whole processor off circuit because it dropped off, and I think you couldn't hear me.
Oh, Roger. Well, that's pretty light there. So go back to number 1 position on your compressor. And here, let me hear that.
1 2 1 2. Going up. How's that?
It doesn't seem to be any middle point on that compressor. It's either in there or raising heck or out, Roger.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that too. It doesn't matter where I put it. It just either goes all the way up or all the way down.
Roger, I think I'd just take it out. I'd just go without it, Roger.
Yeah, Roger, that's all the way out and on the normal voice off to the side of the microphone.
Roger, and consulting your ALC again for mid-scale to 2/3 with the compressor out.
So let's see, that right there is a little bit over the mid-scale.
Great. I'd run it like that, sir. It sounds really clean. It's hitting 100%. You know, normally I would like them a little fatter, but that compressor knows no middle ground.
Yeah, Roger that. Well, thank you very much. You have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for your help again. And like I said, appreciate everything you do for us, Roger.
Roger. And just one other thought. Somebody had mentioned that they thought you were slightly high frequency-wise. I'm not real sure. On your tuning, are you straight across 189.0000?
That is correct, sir.
If it is off, it's nothing to worry about. It's close enough for government work, Roger.
Yeah, Roger that. You're absolutely right. Thank you very much, sir.
Roger, Roger. 3's that away, Lewis. And if you get a chance to check back in next Friday, we run between 3:30 and 5 with our air checks, and then post them within a couple of days. So you can go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and once on our QSO page, probably on page 1 or page 2, look for a session called My Group Aircheck 12519. 12519. This is KC9VKV.
Roger that. 73 K4BTA.
Well, shades of Spanish. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor station calling. Try again, please. Well, my goodness. I think we may be having some malicious interference. It does sound like that to me. And, it takes somebody, I think, mentally ill to try to disrupt an intelligent conversation, probably because the individual is not intelligent, at least not intelligent enough to conduct a meaningful communication. So all they can think about is trying to disrupt other people's communications. And, that is somebody that is really mentally ill, I think, because they lack the ability themselves to communicate on a meaningful way, and they can't stand it when somebody else is communicating in a meaningful way.
Whiskey 4 is Sierra Echo Hotel, Virginia.
Roger, Sierra Echo Hotel. Stand by just a minute. I have a prayer for the mentally ill that I do find, I need to pray for those folks that are mentally ill, that are reduced to making noises, unintelligent noises. And I confess that I've judged those who struggle with mental illness. I have judged because I don't understand. So, Lord, forgive me for making assumptions. Forgive me for my indifference. Comfort and relieve those who are troubled in mind and spirit. Bring them hope, peace, and the consolation of a loving community. This is KC9VKV. That was a prayer for the mentally ill. Station, this is KC9VKV in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. If you have a radio you want to check out the audio, give me a shout.
KC9 PVD, I think it was. Whiskey 4, Sierra Echo Hotel, Virginia.
Sierra Echo Hotel, what's the name there, please?
Roger, first name is Steve, Sierra Echo Alpha Bravo.
Roger, Steve. The name here is Jim, Juliet India Mike, and we are located just across the street from Louisville, Kentucky. We are about 3 miles away from downtown Louisville, just across the Ohio River. Roger.
QSO, sitting here in Culpeper, Virginia. Can you give me the last 3 letters, Jim, please?
Yes, sir. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. KC9VKV, and this is the QSO-VLOG program. We are 20 over from Montreal to Miami and from New York to New Mexico. And we air check between 3:30 and 5, and then place those recordings up on YouTube so you can check out your audio. Roger?
Roger that. Yeah, I was on here, I don't know, it was a week or so ago, and I was kind of scanning the dial, and I came across and you were working with some people. You provide a great service, and it's really fantastic that you're as knowledgeable as you are and you're able to help people do it. I personally got back into ham here from the 80s. U.S. Navy took me off track there for a long time, but I actually got back on the air here back in December. So I am a little interested in the audio. I think I'm probably driving a little hard here. ICOM 7300 running off a Buxton Wyndham multimeter off-center effect dipole. But, yeah, if you got a minute or so to work with me, I'd appreciate it, Jim. Over.
I do, sir. What kind of microphone are you running?
I've got the ICOM Sierra Mic 30, a little desk mic, the mid-range one there. Over.
Roger, roger. Well, I would, the first thing is I would put my compressor at about a 3 out of 10. I would run that compressor at about a third of its capabilities. Roger.
Okay, I was sitting at 4. I just dropped it down to 3 at this point. Over.
Roger. Then I would take my mic gain in hand, my microphone level in hand, and put my multimeter or whatever on ALC and adjust my mic level to where I was running mid-scale to 2/3 on the ALC meter.
Okay, Jim, we'll do that. I am just about the 50% point on each and every one. Let me turn it up a little bit here as I talk. I have a tendency to kind of go up and down in audio here, but that looks like about 50% for me, and that's a 57% mic gain. Over.
Roger. Mic gain is unimportant, I mean, as far as numbers, because all you want to do is get that, satisfy that ALC. And you could run just a little bit, you could run 2/3 on that meter, which would be another 15% audio level.
Waving on the compression scale, but the ALC is pretty solid there, about 50%.
Roger that. Well, I would keep increasing my mic level until my ALC read more towards 2/3 than half. Roger, somewhere in that area, just past half. Roger.
Okay, I'll keep doing it. Test 1 2 3 1 2 3, and to be honest with you, what I'm getting here is I'm getting additional compression scale. My ALC is still at the 50%. On my ALC scale, I have a red line on the bottom of it at the 50% point, and that seems to be where it wants to park. It's staying right about there. Over.
Roger. Well, you know what happens is that your mic level input is in front of the compressor. So just because you put the compressor on a 3 doesn't mean that the compressor is going to be doing the work of a 3 until you bring up the audio level to make the compressor function at a 3 level. Roger?
Understand. I just turned the compressor off, and the ALC fell back to probably 30 to 40%.
Roger, I don't know where you went. I would turn the compressor back on at a 3 and about mid-scale on your audio level, and because you were really killing me there a minute ago.
Yeah, I just turned the compression function off, and the audio did fall off quite a bit. Well, that's interesting, because I've been having very good success here the past month or so talking with previous settings, and this is significantly higher from the mic gain perspective than what I had before. But I'm quite comfortable with it. I get a lot of meter movement, so looks like this is actually pretty good. My compression scale now is peaking up around 15, which relative to the scale is about 55% of the line. Over.
Roger. Well, what you're looking for is about a 3 dB dynamic range. A 3 dB dynamic range means that your average peak modulation is somewhere around 75 to 80%. And you got to consider that unprocessed audio average peak modulation is about 30%. So what you want to do is to try to decrease the dynamic range. That is, get that average peak modulation up, so your audio is just maybe two times louder than unprocessed. And so between running that compressor at about a 3 and running your ALC at about mid-scale, you will turn up on that radio probably with about 75% average peak modulation, which is, about 3 dB dynamic range, and that's a really pretty fast signal.
Understand. Okay. Well, Jim, I appreciate your help. Thank you so much for that. Over.
Roger, roger, sir. Glad you could check in, and always good to try to help somebody. If you wanted to, you could add a few clicks of top end EQ to brighten things up a little bit. This is KC9VKV in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. We go between 3:30 and 5 Eastern, and right now we're talking to Steve. Steve, you still there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got distracted. Dog wanted to come back inside. I had to run over there and let her in real quick. Okay, well, Jim, I appreciate the help. I have a new set of settings here. I'll go play with it, and I'll do some more when I get back on the net later tonight and play with that and see if I can bump that ALC up a little bit more, because it's staying pretty solid there at the 50%. I just have to play. So again, thank you so much, and you have a great evening. So KC9 Victor Kilo Victor, thank you, sir, for your service and what you're doing for us. W4SCH.
Roger. And Steve, I wouldn't change a thing, man. I'd get the duct tape out. I'd get the super glue and the Gorilla Tape, and I would tape everything down so it doesn't move. I mean, I think you got it going on, in my estimation, almost perfect, right as you are right now. Roger?
Roger. QSO, Jim. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Roger, roger, Steve. 3 that away, sir. This is the KC9VKV QSO-VLOG program. We record live between 3:30 and 5 Eastern, and then post it up on YouTube within the next couple of days. And so if you want to hear what your radio sounds like, give us a shout, and then we'll record it and put it up on YouTube in a couple of days. And all you need to do is go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. We've got about 430 QSOs right now, and somewhere on page 1 or page 2 will be this QSO, and it'll be entitled My Group Aircheck 12519. My Group Aircheck 12519. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor.
W4 Japan, Papa Delta, W4 JPD.
W4?
Let's see here, W4 JPD?
Yes, sir, KC9 Victor, Kilowatt Victor, from W4 JPD. Pizza name, we're near Charlotte. You got a great signal, great audio.
Well, sir, likewise. Beautiful audio. Everything is just exactly where it needs to be, Roger.
Roger, roger. Just wanted to give you a report. And what's your name and QTH, over?
Roger. Name here is Jim, Juliet India Mike, and we are located just across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. We're about 3 miles from downtown Louisville, Roger.
Yeah, okay, Jim, 5-9 plus signal. Great sounding station there. Pizza name, and we're in a suburb of Charlotte here in North Carolina. Let you run. Just wanted to give you a quick report there, Jim. And if I didn't say it, my name is Pete, Papa Echo Tango Echo. KC9 Victor Kilowatt Victor from W4 JPD.
Roger, roger, Pete. Just catching a little low-frequency blow-by there. Not sure where that's coming from, but what microphone are you using and what radio?
The radio is a Yaesu, the FT-DX3000, and the mic is a Yaesu MD100. Go ahead.
Roger, that's sounding just beautiful. We're running a homebrew condenser microphone into an ART preamp, into a 3rd octave equalizer, and then into a older Yaesu 990, about 35 years old, and out of that, that's a pretty heavily modified 990, and then into SB 220 up to then a inverted V. Roger?
Yeah, what do you have the transmit bandpass filter set at?
Well, it is a stock 2.4, but lo and behold, we're running a 3.
Yeah, sounds great. In any event, pretty fancy outboard audio gear you got there as well. In any event, we'll let you run, pick up some others there, Jim, and appreciate the short one there. KC9 Victor Kilowatt Victor from W4 JPD.
Roger, Roger. And signal-wise, I'm looking at the output of my receiver audio on a VU meter. I've got the front end of the receiver RF so low it's below AGC compression, but I'm looking at the output on a VU meter, and you are 15 dB above my noise level, 15 dB over my noise level, and your audio dynamic range is somewhere around 2 dB, so really fat audio. Roger?
Roger, Roger. Well, appreciate that, and thank you very much. Have a good day.
Roger, Roger. Pete 3 is that way, sir, and thanks for checking in. And if you get a chance, check in next Friday. We'd love to have you come aboard, Roger.
Roger, Roger. Thank you, and a good evening to you, Jim.
Roger, 3s. This is KC9VKV in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. We run between 3:30 and 5 Eastern, air checking, recording, and so if you have a radio, you want to check out the audio, give me a shout. This is KC9VKV.
W4 Mike Norway.
Mike Norway, this is KC9VKV. Come back with a call sign phonetically.
Yeah, this is Norway 3 Golf Mike Norway. John over here a little bit north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Over.
John, up around Pennsylvania. Roger, Roger, sir. You're doing beautiful. Come back and let me hear you, sir.
We'll say good evening, Jim. Well, almost evening. We're running a Kenwood TS2000 with an Alenco desk microphone. And like a dum-dum, I have my TX monitor on here. And, well, not at the level with it right now. I'm just wondering how I sound on this. I've been having a bout of microphone wars over here between my Heil microphone, the hand microphone, and now this desk microphone. Over.
Well, this one sounds mighty nice. Let's see, what other is that hand mic? What's that is? What model?
The hand microphone is just the stock Kenwood 43, or the little basic microphone, and I hardly ever use it. And I was running a Heil boom microphone at HM12, and everybody's telling me I sound a little too bassy and flat. So I had this 8-pin microphone and decided to plug it in and see what happens.
Roger, Roger. Well, I think you've got things under control. Now, my personal choice would be, I'm trying to convert these HFers up into the VHF, UHF category as far as clarity of signal. It's been a long time. HF has been considered the old way, and so folks coming along now with the condenser microphones and really giving UHF, VHF technically a run for the money as far as the presence of signal, the articulation, and the clarity of the signal. So I'm always in favor of a couple of dB boost on the top end, particularly on a dynamic microphone.
Roger, Roger. Oh, well, your signal report is 10 over steady. I mean, just booming in here. We're about 12 miles or so north of the city of Pittsburgh over here in Pennsylvania. And it's going to get cold, and I understand it's getting cold your way. And what I'll do is, next Friday, I will fire the other microphone up and try it on the boom mic and see what we get from there, which will be curious to hear, because I've been playing with the settings with the headphones and the speaker monitor and the dummy load and all that. So we'll let you carry on. It's almost getting there to the witching hour.
KC9VKV from N3GMN.
Roger, Roger, John. Now, I don't know how to put this, but you need your super glue and your Gorilla Tape on this setting, so you can always come back to this setting, because you're going to be hard pressed to get a better sound. Roger.
Well, Roger, do appreciate that. It's been a real fandango over here, to put it mildly and politely, over the air. We are running about 300 watts here at the present time. G5RV basic setup, nothing crazy, other than the microphones. And I do have a low voice, and that's been a lot of the issue. Over.
Roger. Well, you know, my way I look at an EQ is I always take an EQ, a 3-band, keep the mid-band EQ flat, neither plus nor minus, just flat. And then I usually go up on the top end, crank in 2 or 3, and then the whole ball game then is back in the bottom end. Whether you want a QSO or whether you want a DX or contest, it's all back in that bottom end. You know, you thin it out for a CQ, DX, and all that stuff, or you leave it full, maybe +1 or so for a QSO. You know, it's all secrets, all in the bottom end.
Roger. Yeah, it's been, it's just, I'm almost at the point, but the XYL won't let me do it, is either get a 7600 or something. I'm hearing all these 7300s, and they sound like $1 million radios. Even weak signal, the audio is just, they on those two radios, as far as I'm concerned, from listening and talking, it's the ballpark there. They did it. Icon did it. And, if I could, I'll leave it at that, sir.
Roger, John. Well, you know, the secret to the 7300 is, number one, the condenser stock hand mic that they supply with that radio challenges that radio beautifully. It just, you have to work it across. You can't work into a condenser mic, but you work it across. And it's just the limiter for the 7300 and the 7610 are what I call stonewall limiters. They're set to, there's very little blow-by through that. They are consistent where the 100% peak is right there, and it keeps banging back to that exact place every time. So it doesn't punch through from time to time or under from time to time. It is right there. And I usually suggest that on that 7300 they run about a 3 out of 10 compression, or a third of the compression capabilities, and then consult their ALC and adjust their mic level for ALC activity between mid-scale and 2/3. And that radio's going to have a 2.5 dB dynamic range right there. Now, on the 7610, it can do a little better because it's got a thing called Drive, which you access through a menu called Quick. And Drive you can turn Drive up and wind up with 0.5 dB of dynamic range. In other words, I'm sitting here looking at audio on a VU meter, and the VU meter is bouncing around, well, 0.5 dB dynamic range, the meter starts to react kind of like a voltmeter on a RF output stage. I mean, it's not moving at all. It's just quivering between 0 and minus 0.5 dB. It's just unbelievable.
Oh, Roger. Every time I hear these, those two particular radios and a few of the SDRs on, it is just unbelievable. Unreal. The days, back in the days of tubes, AM, yeah. We're going too far back now. I like this turn-on technology. The only way to fly, sir, the only way to fly.
Oh, that's exactly right. The thing is, though, that with tubes, you never ever had the stonewall limiting capabilities that they are running on that 7300 and the 7610. You know, the difference between a compressor and a limiter is the attack and release times. A compressor has got fairly loose attack and release times, so that's how you can compress, you know, 20 dB if you need to. A limiter is a fast attack, fast relief, so you can't push it anywhere near like that, but it's so fast that you don't need to. Usually about 2 or 3 dB of limiting is all you need. Now the limiter on that 7300, you can get quite aggressive with the ALC level, and that limiter is so nice that it you know, it just holds right there, and when you increase your volume, it just, your signal just starts getting fatter and fatter. You know, it's just amazing.
FREQ.
Standby station.
Oh, I am just impressed with the audio, and with the setup here. It's very, you know, simple setup. I do have a 811 AL811, and just the radio. But now I'm just flabbergasted at the reports on this microphone compared to the other ones. It just is mind-boggling, unbelievable. We'll let you go and pick up a couple more, Jim, and we'll catch you next Friday on a different microphone. KC9VKV and 3 GMN.
Roger, John. Thanks for checking in, man. Beautiful audio. Beautiful audio, good signal, great signal. Hopefully next Friday we can duplicate it again, and it'll be right there again. And you know, Mother Nature sometimes cooperates. So 3's there, John, and you have a good afternoon, good evening, and hopefully we'll see you next Friday. This is KC9VKV in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG program. Anybody want to check in with radio to get their audio recorded? Go ahead.
W4LJ.
W4LJ, what was it?
Lima Juliet Sierra, W4LJS.
In South Carolina.
W4LGS. W4LGS, is that correct?
Close. It's Whiskey 4, Lima Juliet Sierra.
Roger. Close enough. Well, I have a thing about Glenn Close Enough. Glenn Close Enough designed my my coffee maker. And you know what I mean by Glenn Close Enough is every time I make a pot of coffee and go to pour it, it will spill. I mean, it doesn't matter at what rate I pour the coffee, it will spill. And I say, there you go. That's an example of Glenn Close Enough.
Yep, I understand. Well, I just happened to trip across you here on the band today, and thought I'd give a call in and say hello. Joe, you got a nice signal, by the way. And I'm down kind of near another station you talked to earlier. I'm just a couple miles from the Charlotte, North Carolina city limits, but in South Carolina, across the state line, and a little place called Lake Wiley. And anyway, I thought I'd give you a quick call. Name here is Larry, and just catch your thoughts.
Roger, Larry. Well, sounds good. You got a great signal. How much power are you running?
Currently about, I'd say about close to 500.
Roger. Well, you're giving me in excess of a 15 over, so you know, can't go wrong with that, Roger.
Roger. Well, that's good. That's good to know. Is actually I've got a Yaesu FTDX 5000, and really I haven't used it very often, but actually I'm trying the little AL80B linear, and I've got the Yaesu in its Class A mode. I'm running about 30 watts, and it's driving the AL80B. And on the mic side, I've got a Heil PR40, and I've got a what is actually was used a bunch in radio stations for mic processing. I've got a DBX 286A, if you know what that is.
Oh, roger that. Love DVX stuff. Probably too rambunctious for my situation. I'm using ART preamp and third octave equalizer into an older Yaesu 990, about 30-year-old radio, but it's been pretty heavily modified on the incoming and the outgoing side. So I guess I'm going to be running that, and then we into Heathkit to SV220 and then up to an inverted V. So, and on your audio, I'm just thinking there, I'm always trying to get folks to come just a little brighter. I'm always looking for a couple of dB boost on the top end just to add a little clearance to the Clearwater, you know.
Roger. Well, that's kind of curious. As a matter of fact, I was kind of thinking of going and listening on YouTube in a few days to see what things sound like. The way that I've done setup on this rig here is I take and tune it in on a second receiver and use a audio recorder on the computer system and sit there and record it through another receiver to get an idea of what I'm sounding like on the air and things like that. So anyway, I'll enjoy listening to the recording, Joe, and there were some other guys trying to call you here, so I'll just jump out of here and let you catch a couple more here before time is up here.
Roger, Larry. Well, three's that way, sir. You know, my philosophy is that, you know, all this stuff moves by skywave, and that means that it's being reflected back to the receive station. Nothing's moving ground wave hardly, it's all skywave. And sometimes skywave, a lot of times, there are other reflections at slightly higher altitudes that come back and join the original reflection. And the thing is that higher altitude reflection is coming back at a little different phase angle. And so what happens is you start to get some cancellation in the audio, and it starts at the top end. It starts on the high frequency end of the audio spectrum and works its way down. So I always think about that, and so I usually crank in a little bit more top end than what I think would be necessary, because I realize that that's the first thing that's going to go down the road. Roger?
Oh, yeah, and you're correct. Actually, I use that effect as I had a problem with power line noise here for that couldn't be gotten rid of for a while. The power company was kind of a little bit slow on correcting it, and I ended up putting a noise canceller on the receive line to this radio and used that exact effect. In fact, for the directional antennas we use on like AM broadcast antennas, phase cancellation is how you make them work, and the same thing applies to audio as well. You are very correct, Joe.
Roger, name's Jim, but close enough. It's got. I'll answer to any at lunchtime, Roger.
Oh, Roger, I've got it now, Jim. Actually, I should have gotten that. The same name as my oldest son. I'm sorry, but I've got it now.
Roger. So you have a background in broadcasting?
Oh, yeah. I've been well, in fact, I still do some. In fact, I was out yesterday, so I guess I still do some. I've been an independent contractor, and we take care of radio stations. Been out to Louisville quite a few times, working on little stations a group used to have out there, and things like that. So yeah, I've had a little exposure to broadcasting.
Roger. Well, I retired after 50 years of broadcasting, and then opened my own recording studio, broadcast-related recording studio, for another quite a few years. So it's a small world, Roger.
Oh yeah. It is. There's just a lot of people who are in the broadcast industry that you find on the air. Makes it kind of interesting to talk to, and my son is kind of taking over a lot of the business, and I still fix more of the transmitters, do more of the RF and things like that, and he does more of the IT-related work, which is increasingly becoming what broadcast engineering is.
Oh, Roger, yeah. Clear channel, 3 guys in a basement in Syracuse doing the programming for 1,400 radio stations. I mean the audio tracks and everything. 3 guys in a basement. That's Clear Channel, or iHeartRadio, I'm sorry. Yeah, I spent, from 1970 to 79 with WHAS in Louisville as production director.
Roger. Yep. As well is, like I said, I'd been out that way. I used to work for a chain that had bought a couple. This chain was actually buying up small AM radio stations and converting them over to different formats and things like that, trying to make things work and things like that. And in their case, didn't work out that well, but, you know, it happens. And we do stations around the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and do some rather large ones and some rather small ones all at the same time, and help people with whatever we can help them with to be able to serve the public and hopefully have a little fun while doing it, too.
Oh, roger that. Well, it didn't work out too well for iHeart either. I think they just took a Chapter 13 for $20 million relief, I think.
Well, I think that might be B with a B, but yeah, I recall hearing that.
I think you're right. I didn't want to say it. I couldn't imagine that number, but I think it is $20 billion, which is only half of their indebtedness, $40 billion. I mean, somebody who's in charge of this wreck.
Well, yeah, they were paying just incredible prices for radio stations some years back when they were growing the group, and you know, FM stations around the market here were going for, you know, sometimes $30, $50, $60 million for a single FM station, and that's a little bit of a debt to have to overcome to run the station down the road.
Oh, yeah. Even if you have, people going out with guns collecting, you're still not going to be able to make it. So, you just wonder who on the FCC would allow individuals to become responsible for 1,400 radio stations. Talk about money changing hands there.
Oh, yeah, and also, too, the latest thing is now they've even gotten rid of the old main studio rule, and so you no longer have to have any employees in the market. If you've got a way for the audience to contact you and things like that, you can have simply a transmitter there and well, hopefully a contract engineer to put you on the air if you go off or something, but and nothing else.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, all they have to do, I think, is to make an announcement once a day about a possible .com location or internet location where somebody can go and look at the books or whatever. And that's the only thing they need. Otherwise, those three guys in Syracuse are keeping it rolling,
Oh yeah. It's really changed a lot, and it's been kind of a, for my 2 cents, it's been a kind of a negative thing for, a localized public service, because when I came up in radio, it was public service for a market that you were expected to serve the people of your market in exchange for the ability to, operate your radio station and make money doing it.
Right, the privilege of operating the radio station. Well, those days are long gone, They could care less. The city could burn down. They have, I think they have about half a newsman for usually 14 radio stations. That's all consolidated into a telephone booth downtown somewhere.
Yeah, it seems that way these days. There's really not too much done when it comes down to, the local public service aspect of the business and things has really faded down a lot. And I understand there's new media and there's new ways for people to communicate, but I think radio is still a viable way for, communities to have some cohesiveness, togetherness, and appropriate information for just them that's readily available.
Roger. Well, the thing that the station I used to work at when I was 21 down in Florida, WJNO, a nice little flagship operation, been in business for 20 years at that point. Well, I just heard recently that that's West Palm is Rush Limbaugh's hometown, and they wanted a more prestigious radio station to carry them, so they just swapped call letters between the one station and the other station, not giving rats whatever about the tradition of the one station and the history of service. Doesn't matter to them. It's just call letters, you know.
Well, and money is what it comes down to. Is now I've seen that in a bunch of different markets, to where you'll have people who you know, you have kind of a heritage station type thing, and they just kind of they're unimpressed.
Oh, Roger. Well, they're so busy covering their whatever that they don't. And it's my understanding that the head of Clear Channel iHeart is a shock jock, kind of like what's his face on satellite, but probably not as good. But I mean, it's that kind of ilk that's leading our commercial broadcast industry, and I think that's just pathetic, and I think that the FCC should be ashamed.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the commercial broadcasting too, quite honestly, is over commercialized as well, and that's a part of radio seems to be, just barely holding on listenership-wise when it should be growing some and things like that. And I think a lot of that has to do with over commercialization of the stations, and it tends to run people up to other choices.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who ever said in their right mind that you could run a 7 or 8 minute spot set and somebody is going to be sitting there on the other side, you know? I always thought if the CIA ever wanted to get secret messages out, they could put it in the middle of an 8 minute spot set and no one would ever hear it.
You're probably right on that, because it does get to where some of them get kind of excessively long and things like that. And overall, I understand management's viewpoint. If they can sell it, they want to sell the quantity and get the money in the door. But they're not thinking long term. Everything is what's happening for next quarter.
Roger, I guess it's a jail term if they fail. I don't know. It's just pathetic, though, that there is no money for creativity. And why in the world would somebody want to listen to something that's not creative? I mean, there's so many other options. The only possibility that they have for gaining any listenership is creativity, and there's no money for that. You grew up in a time when creativity meant something, but not today. It's those three guys in Syracuse.
Oh yeah, and even if a lot of cases, if you're working, in a local market at a station, the folks on the air, they've got a set of 10 liners. Read the liner and add a weather forecast. In fact, but some of them these days have the computer-generated weather to the point to where they don't even have anybody recording the weather anymore. It's put together by a computer. I don't know whether you've heard that on an automation system. It actually sounds relatively convincing for what it is, but talk about getting it down to where there's basically nobody there.
Oh, Roger, and even if they are there, they're not there. I mean, there's nothing to do. It's all controlled by those three guys. But anyway, on the brighter side, I guess the future is in the Internet. The only problem with the Internet is that nobody knows you're there, whereas you used to be with AM radio, at least you could kind of figure that you had the possibility of somebody running across your signal within, depending on the power output, but a KW maybe within a 35-mile range, they might be able to, somebody might be able to hear you, 50 KW, might be a little bit better. That was one of the main reasons that I stopped at Louisville in my career, because I could compete on a national basis, at nighttime anyway, as a Clear Channel. That was when Clear Channel meant something. Now it's iHeartRadio. They had to change their name because people were becoming aware of their Clear Channel name, and what a dog and pony show that was.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have one of the large legacy AM broadcast stations right here in Charlotte. In fact, their transmitter's not too far from the house here, probably less than 10 miles, and that's That's WPT on 1110, and they could still be heard up all far north as Boston and down in Cuba and things like that. But with the way the band is anymore, it's not, the quality's not there the way it used to be.
Roger, Roger. Well, I played around with loop antennas for AM, and I found that with the correct orientation on my loop, I could get WGN and what's the shorted one? BT?
Yes, BT.
Yeah, I could get both those, one off one end and one off the other end. Luckily, they were on different frequencies.
KC9VKV, your comment?
Station comment, stand by just a moment, please. Larry, let me say threes to you, sir. I've enjoyed it. And if you get a chance, come join us next Friday afternoon on this frequency between 3:30 and 5. Roger?
Roger. And, Jim, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me this afternoon, and enjoyed it much. And go ahead and pick up the comment station there. This is WLJS 73.
Roger, Roger. Larry, three's that away. Comment station, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you guys don't have to break up. I just wanted to throw in, I've been listening for the last 10 minutes or so, highly intrigued. I was a political talk show host and news director at KSAR 660 AM in Fairbanks, Alaska, all the way up in Alaska back in the 1990s, and I left there in 99, and they were starting to go, a lower 48 company had bought them out, New Northwest Broadcasting, and our FM station, I worked on the AM side, our FM station, it was family owned, had begun using focus groups in Seattle and telling all of our disc jockeys on the FM side that they had 4.5 minutes per hour. 4.5 minutes per hour to talk, and focus groups in Seattle dictated exactly what songs they would play. And we went from having a vault, and I mean a vault of vinyl and records and CDs to 415 songs that we could play, and that was it. And it was programmed out of Seattle, and then on the political side, on my side, they cut my talk show down from 3 hours to 2 hours and went with a national program, and I got out of the business in 1999. I've not been on the radio since, but in talking with the friends of mine who are still in the business, they hate it. They absolutely hate it. It's a good paycheck. They're making a decent money, but they hate it because everything's dictated from focus groups, from corporate, and I heard one of you gentlemen say there's no creativity, and you are absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I would say broadcast radio, terrestrial broadcast radio, is in a sad, sad, sad state of affairs. So anyway, I just wanted to chime in and let you know that I really enjoyed listening to you guys, and wanted to throw my 2 cents in. So KC5KPU, I'll be standing by again.
Roger, Roger. Come back slowly with your call sign phonetically and your name, please.
Yeah, name is David, and that call sign is Kilo Golf 5. Kilo Papa Uniform. Again, David, just outside of Dallas, Texas. Kilo Golf 5, Kilo Papa Uniform.
Roger, Roger. And gosh, what was the frequency of your station up there?
It was Fairbanks, Alaska. As we used to say, the heart of the Golden Heart City, 660 AM, KSAR.
Roger, Roger. Nice frequency. What was your power?
We were putting out 10,000 watts, but our broadcast tower was down by a river, and our radios, I don't know how we got permission to do this, but the radios for the tower went into the river. So we had 10,000 watts, but our range was about 500 miles up and down the Tanana River, over.
Oh, roger that, roger that. Nothing like good conductivity for ground system. The first radio station I worked at was a station, it was down in Florida. My hometown was West Palm, and this station was out in, Pahokee, Florida. I don't know if you know where that is, but it's just under the rim of Lake Okeechobee there on the southern rim, and that station, the transmitter was in a muck farm where they grew sugarcane, And so the ground radios were in muck, and the muck was always moist, and that station was only, I think it was a 250 water, but it had a primary coverage area of something around 50 miles. It was just unbelievable.
Hey, what was your call sign? And it's funny, before I get your call sign, a friend of mine that I interned with at KBPS 1450 AM in Portland, Oregon, back when I was in high school. I interned at a station. He was in high school with me. He owns a production company and does voiceovers, and he's done some stuff for The Simpsons and Family Guy, and he's always looking for talent, voice talent. And I heard you talking, and I thought to myself, I'm going to get this guy's name and see if Tim can use him. And then I heard you saying that you used to be in radio. That kind of made me laugh. But what is your call sign? Because I copied the K and then I lost it after that. So if you could come back to me with your call sign, that'd be great.
Roger, Roger. Call sign is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. KC9VKV, name is Jim, and again we're located just across the river from Louisville, and we run a QSO-VLOG program between 3:30 and 5 Eastern on this frequency 7189, where we are recording air checks continuously from 3:30 till 5 Eastern, and then we post them up on YouTube, and folks that want to hear what their audio sounds like, I'll probably have this posted in the next couple of days. So they would go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that would take them to the QSO-VLOG page. And we have about 430 QSOs, but on page 1 or page 2, they would look for a session called My Group Aircheck 12519. My Group Aircheck 12519, today's date, and so then they would find it, and like I say, the initial one is an hour and a half, the full hour and a half, and then later on we do bust it up and take the better QSOs and upload them separately. Roger?
Okay, copy that. Hey, okay, that's fantastic. That will actually help me out, because I just discovered that my ICOM 7300, I had the mic gain at about 45, and I was getting fairly good reports, but I have an Ameritron 811H amplifier, and I was only getting on 40 meters about 450, 500 watts out of it. And so about 3 days ago, I thought, you know what, let me kick the mic gain up to 55% and see what happens. And now I'm driving the exact same output from the amp. I'm not overdriving the amp, but I'm getting about 550 watts out of it. So I increased my output on the amplifier by increasing the mic gain a little bit. So yeah, I would absolutely love to be able to hear an audio report to see if at the 55% mic gain, if I'm overdriving. I'd rather have a little bit less power, but have the modulation sound better. So the service that you're offering is fantastic. I really appreciate that. Over.
Roger, it was Dave, is that correct, David?
Yeah, that is correct, David. There's the handle here. David, just outside of Dallas.
Roger, David. Well, I guess I am the resident 7300 expert. The first thing, to be sure that you're running your radio in the widest possible format. Now, there's 2 or 3 places that they have these options, so you have to go through the whole thing to be sure you're in the widest frequent band, widest band that radio is capable of, like 29 on the top end to 100 on the bottom end. I think that's right. But you have to be sure. You have to go to the compressor and check to be sure that you're in wideband there. Then you have to go to the AOC and wideband there, and then into the EQ and wideband there. Otherwise, any one of those that's chosen at a lower value you will default to that lower value, which is, I think, the one bad aspect of the 7300 that I can think of. They should have had just one place where you choose the width of your radio, just one place, and once you do that, you're good. But I suggest on that 7300 running your compressor at about a 3, about a third of its capabilities, then running the The ALC at mid-scale to 2/3 by adjusting your mic gain to where you're running mid-scale to 2/3 on that. And then depending on what mic you have, if you have the stock mic, maybe a couple of clicks on the top end is about all you need for that, just to be sure that you work across that mic, not into it. Roger?
Yeah, copy that. I did spend, when I first got the radio, and I'll have to go back and verify, right now I'm using a Heil IC headset, Pro set that's designed for this radio. And I did spend about 30 minutes on the air with the gentleman. Thank goodness for him. He took the time. And I played around with all kinds of settings with compression. Compression is set at 3. And one thing I noticed that when I had an ICOM 7200, I would run my compression at about 60% and got fantastic audio reports. I initially set this radio up the same way. And holy cow, with the compression set at 6 or 7, it sounded terrible. So I backed it down, I backed the bass down, turned up the higher end a little bit higher than what I had previously, and then they had the mic gain at about 45, and I just, like I said, in the last couple of days, kicked it up to 55. But I spent about a half hour, 45 minutes with the guy on the radio, tweaking everything, and I don't know the numbers. I'll have to go back and take a look. But just the audio report that he was giving me, I kind of adjusted the radio accordingly, and then in the last 3 or 4 days, kicked it up from 45 to 55. So I'll have to maybe go back and take a look over.
Roger, David, sounds like you might be just a tad warm on your ALC. You want to run that ALC. Your actual mic numbers, gain mic numbers, don't mean anything. What you want to do is adjust that mic level to your ALC is running mid-scale to 2/3. Once you have your compressor in at about 1/3 of its capabilities. So a compressor in to about a 3 or 1/3 of its capabilities, and then adjust the mic gain until your ALC is running mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Copy that, copy that. And I do know on the 7200, and again, that's not the same radio, but on the 7200, when I overdrove the ALC, the audio actually, and maybe that radio was more forgiving, but I was driving that ALC right up to the red mark. There was no overmodulation. I got fantastic modulation reports. And again, that could be just simply a difference in the way the ALC meter was reading on the rig. I do know that the 7300 is a little more sensitive, and you've got more adjustments to make. And I'll definitely go back and take a look at that. And now that I'm driving 55%, I'll tell you what, on the next transmission, I'll back the mic gain down to 50 and see what it does. Over.
I wouldn't go by the numbers on the mic gain. Go to your ALC and look at your ALC meter, and you'll have a range on the ALC meter. So and so to so and so. Not necessarily full deflection on the meter, but the range will be clearly marked for the ALC reading. And what you want to do is be in the middle of that ALC. Adjust your mic gain to where you're in the middle or 2/3 of the ALC, and that way, that radio, you will be at about a 3 dB dynamic range, which will probably somewhere about a 75% average peak modulation. Roger.
Okay, Roger that. Yeah, I'm looking at the ALC now, and at 55%, I was pushing the ALC all the way up. Now that I'm back down to 45, it will occasionally touch the top end of the ALC, but in normal modulation, it's a little bit lower than that. I will say that on the amplifier output, it's about a 50-watt difference between 55 and 45. Over.
Roger. Now, what you want to do, like I say, is you'll have your best signal if you adjust your ALC for mid-scale and then turn up or down your RF output level to get out of the amp what you want to get. But you don't want to back your audio down, to get the right RF level. You want to run your radio with mid-scale ALC, mid-scale to 2/3, and then adjust your RF output till you're getting what you want out of your amp. Roger?
Roger that. You've given me some stuff to think about. So I'm going to go ahead and clear with you, and I'm going to find a frequency. I don't have a dummy load hooked up, so I'll have to torture the airwaves here. I'm going to go find a place where nobody's talking and see what I can do. Looking at the compression meter right now, and I don't know if that matters. It's bouncing right around 20, and then at peak, it'll hit the top end, but it's averaging between 10 and 20. The ALC, however, is bouncing around from, like you said, about 2/3, but then it's also touching the top end of the ALC. So I'm going to go find a different frequency and play around and take your advice and see what I can do. So I definitely appreciate it there, Jim. And I'll clear with you, and there might be some other folks that want to jump back in here. So thank you very much for the advice, and I'm going to go find the clear frequency and play around here a little bit. KC5. One more thing that I can turn the power down to 0. Now, when I think about it, the radio's not going to care about power out. Is that correct? I can turn the power down to 0 and set these settings. Would that be a fair statement?
Well, I wouldn't do that. I would just take your output to your RF output to where your amp is looking good and you're getting out of the amp what you want to get out of it, and your ALC is running mid-scale to 2/3, and your compressor is running about 1/3 of its possibilities. And you're working. If you're working the hand mic, work across it. Don't work into it. Roger, Roger.
Yeah, copy that. Yeah, and I'm not using the hand mic. It's funny because I teach a class. A tech class, and that's one of the things that I give an example of is that you do not talk directly into the mic, you talk across the mic. So, okay, I'm going to go find a frequency and play around and take your advice into account and see if I can improve the station here. I definitely appreciate it. It's one of the great things I like about ham radio is you meet all kinds of people, and your life is usually, not always, but usually better for it. And my life's definitely better for this QSO. And I do appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. This is KG5KPU, and I'll be clear on your final.
Roger, Roger, David, 3 Zetterways, sir. And if you get a chance, join us next Friday on this frequency, 7189, between 3:30 and 5, and we'll compare notes and see what's happening. We're getting ready to jump out of here. Maybe we have room for one more station that wants to try to check in. This is KC9VKV.
KC9VKV, how copy Whiskey 4 India Juliet.
India Juliet, come back again with a call sign.
Roger, it's Whiskey 4 India Juliet. Name is Steve. I'm in South Carolina, and was listening to your description of the 7300 settings. I've got a 7200 and a 7300, and what I'm on now is a 7200 followed by a Henry. Does the and I'm looking at my ALC. My ALC is running up almost all the way to the end of its bars. Can you tell if I need to back down a little bit? Over.
What I would do would be to engage the compressor. See, you've got two things for fattening. You've got the compressor to fatten a little bit, and you've got the ALC as a limiter will fatten a little bit also. So I would engage the compressor and run it at about a 3 out of 10, about 1/3 of its possibilities. Roger?
Roger, that's where it is now. Do you think my mic gain is a little high then?
I would then look at my ALC and adjust my mic level to where the ALC was reading mid-scale to 2/3. And once you get that, then we may go back on the compressor. Roger?
Okay, KC9VKV ALC is now running about 1/2 to 2/3. Mic gain is down to a 10. I'm using a Howell 781 through a cloud lifter, so I'm avoiding the phantom power into the mic. So that should be enough for you to tell me if you think I got it about right. So how's it sound, Jim? Over.
Need to be a little fatter. I would come up to about a 5 on that compressor. Come up to about a 5, and let's hear you at that level. But be monitoring your ALC, and if you have to, bring your ALC back to mid-scale to 2/3.
Okay, compressor level is now a 5. Let me bring the mic gain down to about, that's about a half to 2/3. Sound better? Over.
Yes, sir. Now, if you know where your EQ is, I would crank in 3 or 4 clicks on the top end of your EQ. Roger.
Okay, the 7200 doesn't let you EQ. I don't believe. Over.
Roger. How old is that radio?
Oh, it's brand new. It's a current production model, the IC7200. I got it primarily just to run the digital modes. I got tired of taking the microphone out and sticking the digital doodad in, so I just, just changed radios.
Roger that, Roger that. I would think it would have some EQ. Can you, let's see, if you've got the book there, look for equalization, or if you can go to your main menu and look for equalization, EQ or equalization. I would be surprised if it didn't have EQ on it, Roger.
Okay, well I'll take a look. I know I've got it on the FREQ stuff, but I don't know if I've got it on this, but I haven't read the whole 3,421.5 page manual. But I've got pretty much figured out what some of these crazy buttons do, but I'll take a look at that. All right, I know you were looking to go. I appreciate the help, and we'll see you on the radio. KC9VKV, W4IJ.
Roger, Roger, Steve. I think we're on the right track, sir. In the meantime, maybe you could look for EQ or equalization, and I would just do, right now, I just do about 3 clicks on the top end boost, and then if you get a chance to join us next Friday on this frequency, 7189, between 3:30 and 5, we could take another listen to it. Roger, Roger.
Roger, Roger. I'll hope to do that. 7-3, see you on the radio.
Roger, Roger, Steve. 3 side away, sir. You have a real good afternoon and evening. It's been a pleasure. And that will wrap it up for us. We've been going since 3:30 this afternoon. Enjoyed it. Hope you have and have gained some information. And we would be here, if the creeks don't rise, between 3:30 and 5 next Friday. So between now and then, have a good weekend. We'll catch you later. This is KC9VKV. We'll be clear. WA7, is that a Roger? Gosh, you're really into my noise level. Try one more time. Come right up on that mic. Give me your call sign phonetically slowly.
Yes, Whiskey, America 7, Foxtrot, Charlie, Foxtrot, over.
FCF, Roger, I got you there. What's the name?
My name here is Mike. Mike Ida King Easy, thank you.
Roger, Mike, and where are you, sir?
Good. I was just curious, how is my audio? How does it sound to you? I've got a 7300, and I was listening to you, and that other fellow or two there. I jumped in a little bit. I just wondered if it sounds okay. Over.
Roger, I would put a couple of clicks or 3 on the top end. I'm an EQ nut on the top end. I'm trying to single-handedly get HF into the VHF UHF technical sound quality. Roger. So if you're on that 7300, I would run a third compression, third of the capabilities of the compressor, which would be about a 3, I guess, or something like that. And then I would look at the ALC for mid-scale operation, and then I would crank in a couple of, or 3 clicks on the top end. Roger?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think the ALC may be a little bit high on that, so I don't know, maybe my mic is a little bit high there. I'll drop in a second. I don't know if that's any better, but I do appreciate your help. Have a good weekend. We'll take a look at it, and I appreciate your help. Thank you. Catch you again soon.
Roger, Roger. 3's that away, sir. Mike, and you have a good weekend, sir. We'll catch you next Friday between 3:30 and 5 on this frequency. So that will do us for now. We will catch you next Friday between 3:30 and 5 on this frequency. This is KC9VKV, and we are gone this time.